After a person died, how did ancient humans preserve the body without a refrigerator? Today, hospitals can keep the dead safely for a while, using controlled cold but thousands of years ago, there was no refrigerator, no medical equipment, and no modern preservation system. So what did they do? So what did people do when nature itself seemed to preserve a body? The answer begins with something much simpler than medicine. Long before anyone understood bacteria, ancient people noticed something strange. Some bodies disappeared quickly, while others lasted much longer. Why the difference? The secret was often hidden in the environment surrounding the body. Heat, moisture, soil, and even extreme cold could change how quickly a body decomposed. Ancient people did not know the science behind this. They simply saw what happened and remembered it. And that observation created a new question. Could humans deliberately make preservation happen? At first, nature was doing the work. Humans were only beginning to understand how to copy it. One of the simplest clues was dryness. When water disappeared from a body, decomposition could slow dramatically. So the first major idea was simple. Remove moisture, and you could slow nature down. But how could ancient people remove moisture on purpose? They had no chemicals, machines, or modern equipment. They had something else: sunlight, dry air, minerals, and thousands of years of observation. In extremely dry places, nature could preserve bodies almost by accident. One of the most remarkable examples came from the ancient Atacama Desert in South America. The Chinchorro people lived in this incredibly dry region thousands of years ago, and their environment was so dry that some bodies could remain naturally preserved. But then, something extraordinary happened. People began preserving bodies deliberately. The Chinchorro developed some of the oldest known artificial mummification practices in human history, and they did something that reveals just how sophisticated their techniques had become. They could take a body apart, treat its parts, and carefully reconstruct it. This was not simply a way to hide a body from decay. It became part of their relationship with the dead. So preservation was becoming more than survival. It was becoming a cultural practice. But the Chinchorro were not the only people to discover preservation. Across different parts of the world, humans discovered that dry, cold, salty, or protected environments could slow decay. But one civilization would turn preservation into an extraordinarily organized system. That civilization was ancient Egypt. For Egyptians, preserving the body was closely connected to beliefs about the afterlife. If the body had an important role after death, keeping it recognizable became extremely important. But there was a problem. A human body contains a lot of moisture, and moisture was exactly what decomposition needed. So Egyptian embalmers focused on one central challenge: drying the body. They discovered that a naturally occurring salt called natron was extremely useful for this purpose. Natron helped pull moisture out of the body, turning preservation into a controlled process. But drying the outside was not enough. The inside of the body could still cause problems. So the embalmers developed methods for dealing with internal organs as well. Natron helped pull moisture out of the body, turning preservation into a controlled process. But drying the outside was not enough. The inside of the body could still cause problems. So the embalmers developed methods for dealing with internal organs as well. The brain could be removed, while the heart was treated differently because of its spiritual importance. Other internal organs were preserved too, sometimes in special containers, known as canopic jars. Then came another important step: the long drying period. The complete Egyptian mummification process commonly took about 70 days. That meant preservation was no longer a quick trick. It had become a carefully organized craft. And the Egyptians kept improving the process over generations. They used oils, resins, aromatic substances, linen, and other materials during different stages. Some of these substances helped protect the body and the wrappings. Then the body was wrapped in layer after layer of linen. The result was something astonishing: a human body transformed into a long-lasting mummy. But Egypt was only one chapter in a much larger human story. In other societies, preservation had different purposes, methods, and meanings. Some bodies were preserved naturally. Others were deliberately treated by people. And sometimes, people did not need to preserve a body forever. They only needed more time. That became especially important when someone died far from home. Centuries later, European physicians and anatomists began experimenting with new preservation methods. Their goal was different. They wanted bodies to remain usable for studying human anatomy. Without reliable preservation, decomposition made anatomical study difficult. Cold weather sometimes helped, which is why dissections could be easier during winter. But cold was not a complete solution. People needed something more dependable, so preservation gradually moved from observation toward chemistry. People experimented with alcohols, salts, oils, acids, and other substances. Some methods worked better than others. Some were dangerous. Then chemistry produced a breakthrough that would change preservation forever. That breakthrough was formaldehyde. Formaldehyde became an important foundation of modern chemical preservation. Now, preservation could be achieved without relying only on drying or cold. But another technology was developing at the same time: artificial refrigeration. And refrigeration offered something ancient people could never control precisely: temperature.